Right now. Hello, everybody. I hope all of you are doing well here tonight on this Thursday evening. I'm your host, Big T, right here with you tonight. And welcome to episode number 250 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast here. And 250 episodes. Wow, can't believe it. And, we're having a big celebration tonight, and I am very honored and privileged to welcome back to the show for the fourth time the voice of Hard Legacy Wrestling. We have Miss Michelle Billington here with us tonight. Michelle, how are you doing?
Really good, Big T. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And today is what is it? Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. We're the day after April Fool's Day. I know everybody was pranking everybody yesterday, but now everything's kind of back to normal.
I was trying to prank my family, and they kept saying, "Mom, no, you're not. No, you're not." I think I tried the, "I'm pregnant." Like, you're getting a puppy, right? I was like, oh.
So
a grown. They didn't buy any of it.
Oh, wow. So how are you? There we go. All right, sorry about that, guys. A little disconnect with the internet, but got it up and running. But as I was saying before it cut, everybody was asking in January around the Royal Rumble, because I remember Michelle and I, we kind of teased it a little bit back in October. We're like, oh, maybe around Royal Rumble time. And then when Royal Rumble time came, everybody was like, when's Michelle coming back? Is she coming back?
Well, God bless that one heart that wanted me back. Or two. You and somebody else. But thank you so much. I'm really excited when you guys asked me on, and I just feel honored that you even care what I think about.
Well, it's always great having you on, and like I was telling my audience earlier in the week when I announced that you were coming back, and I was like, out of all the guests I had here, because I had about, I would say, 30 to 40 roughly, and my audience, my small audience, seems to agree, and I agree, and you're one of the very best guests that have come on here. We always have some great conversations and great stories for everybody.
Well, thank you, sir. And what a really bizarre and surreal time it is, in the wrestling world and the real world. Like, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, is this really happening?
Yes.
That my day job is a school teacher, right?
Yes, I remember when we did talk about that, and that was actually, I was thinking, about what was going to happen with your profession, going on with this, because all the kids are out of school now, right?
Yeah, and, behind the scenes is just, there's a phenomenal amount of work that's going on, like just from planning. Like, it sounds like online teaching and learning would be so easy, but not when you only have like 5 days to get it all together. But thank God, my school is so like technologically advanced, and we really, are big on technology, starting from kindergarten. So all the kids, and even the kids at home, right? Everybody is so aware of how to use it, and the best platforms for chats or uploading videos. So yeah, we've been up and running for a week now, but it's exhausting. Like, people are getting like phoning in, they have a migraine because they have to stare at the screen all day, and so you're getting sore necks.
Yes.
Like, I answered because I post. I'm a phys ed teacher and a librarian, so I read a story or I post things for them to do to work out. And they respond back. I said, "Tell me what you did today to work out." And of course but I have over 200 kids. So 200 plus 200, that's 400 comments.
Wow.
And while you're working on something else and uploading another lesson for something else. Like we're sharing all the workload, and I'm only doing these two things, but I have 400 comments. That if you can imagine 200 people emailing you twice a day, and you having to respond to it.
Oh, that's got to be incredibly busy. I couldn't even imagine.
Well, thank God some of the kids aren't doing their work. Actually, I would say 75% are not doing their work because they're just like, the government said they have to do the math and literacy for sure, and that anything else that we're putting up there is extra. And so some of them aren't doing anything, and some are doing everything, but it seems to be manageable so far.
Oh, that's good. As long as you can manage, that's what matters, especially in a time like this.
Yeah, I know I'm feeling it at home though. Like I really miss my grandkids and my kids. Like I see most of them within a day or two of each other. Like I'm not used to this, and I just dropped off some acrylic paint to my granddaughter. She's 11, and it's just waving hi through the window, and everybody's got to sterilize everything, and it's sad because the two babies that were born in July, my son's son and my daughter's daughter.
Oh yes, that's
they're taking their first steps. One was making strange, and she was just getting used to me, and we had a sleepover. Poor thing kept looking at me and crying and putting her head back down. But, she was just getting used to me, and I was like, great, now we got to redo all that. And plus, my daughter just giving them breaks.
Yeah, because now, everybody's got to be separated, and it's hard, it's terrible, actually.
It's so difficult, and I was like, and I am still going into work because I'm the librarian, so, my boss could, lay me off, or he can find work for me to do and tell the government, no, I need her in the library. So it's not like he's making me go, he's giving me that, So a lot of people have lost their jobs, their businesses. It's just horrendous, and it's not even into it yet,
Oh, exactly.
A couple of months from now, we're just going to look around, and there's going to be a lot of pieces to pick up.
Well, you know what the whole thing was with me, and I wish in the beginning I would have, taken it more serious. Because in the beginning, when this first happened, I was just looking forward to WrestleMania, to be honest, to go on the trip to Tampa. And when we had, it was, I believe, a couple hundred cases.
Yeah.
And
you probably heard that Davey Boy was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I was so happy.
And the whole family was going down. Like, flights are canceled. Like, they're going into Disneyland, and
exactly.
There's a Disney World down there.
Disney World, yes, Disney World.
Disney World, we're all staying at around there, and it's all done.
It's terrible.
It's all over. But I was hoping that they would still do it, like, how AEW performed in front of nobody except the TV audience.
Yes.
Like, not a live audience, no live audience. Well, I thought that's what would happen with WrestleMania, but I don't know if that's even going to happen now.
What they're going to do, Michelle, I actually do have news on that.
Oh, good.
They taped WrestleMania in advance. They taped it on March 24th and March 25th, I believe. It's already taped and done, and they've just been editing it and putting everything together. And up to this point, Roman Reigns dropped out, of WrestleMania, so I heard that Braun Strowman is going to be Roman Reigns' replacement to take on Goldberg. And I guess on the day that they taped WrestleMania, reportedly The Miz showed up to the Performance Center, feeling sick, and they sent The Miz home. So I think the rumor is, I don't have any confirmation, but the rumor is that they're going to have, like, I believe John Morrison versus, like, one of the Usos in a ladder match for the tag team titles, except it'll be, like,
Wow,
one-on-one.
that would be an awesome match.
I think so. And, like I was saying, in the beginning when we only had a couple hundred cases here, I was like, it's not good that this is here, but I'm like, couple hundred cases, we should be able to get rid of that, as long as everybody just, quarantines, does the proper thing, and everything will be okay, and, we'll be ready to go for WrestleMania. And then the cases just went out of control.
Mm.
And
well,
and now I know it's everywhere. It's all over the world. It's here in the States. It's out by you in Canada. Just everywhere.
it's going to be a great show, though. I mean, they're going to give it all they got, and I have no insider tidbits for you because I've been at work just trying to manage all of this chaos in the house, and even when it started, like I'm the one. My partner is older, and he's a smoker, so I'm really worried about him. Like if he gets this COVID-19, I don't think he's going to be coming out of that because he's 60 and a heavy smoker.
Oh,
and I'm worried about my mom. We have her, she's 7-hour drive away, and she lives alone. She's very independent, but she's 83 years old. She's also a heavy smoker.
Mm-hmm.
But she's, everyone's trying to isolate her and not go around her, like giving her, everybody's delivering her food, but that's got to be so lonely for my mom.
Yes.
But, my mom's, she's really independent and strong, and I know she'll push on through it, but you still can't help worrying. Plus, I have 2 children that are asthmatics.
Oh, wow.
We just lost a gentleman here in northern Alberta. He had a little bit of asthma, he said, when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even have a puffer because it'd been so long. And then he was in the hospital and then he passed away.
Oh, jeez.
Father of 3, 40 years old. So, yeah, it's got me worried about my loved ones with health issues, but, it could be any one of us, so. I got to make sure my will is all up to date, because when I wrote it, my twins were kids, and now they're 18, so I don't have to name a guardian for them.
Yeah. It's it's very scary. It's very scary, what's going on right now. And before I move on, I'm looking here. We have a couple people that already put in comments. This is a new comment on one of our shows. Frankie Cigar says, "We love Michelle." And
thank you, Frankie. Love you too.
And Angel says, "4th return for Michelle. Very nice."
Oh, thank you so much.
So we're getting the love in here.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Anyway, so my daughters are all, they're new moms, and they're, at home worried. My one daughter's like, okay, this is it. She posted a meme, like, with her face down, and she goes, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm either going to get married, have another baby, or get a puppy. And I was like, get a puppy! So I've been, like, looking at all these breeds and types of dogs, and my dog is 14, Dim Sum.
Oh, okay. I remember you telling me about Dim Sum. Yes, I remember now.
Yes, she's in her golden years, so she's loving this. She's loving the self-isolation. She's like, she likes that we're in quarantine.
Oh, I could imagine she's got to love getting all the attention.
Well, because we're all home, because usually we're all at work, right?
Yes, exactly.
So she's loving it, but I'm concerned that, she's in her golden years, and I love having a dog. Like, I love going for walks, and Dim's back legs are sore, so I got to put her in a stroller.
Mm-hmm.
so I want to get a puppy. So I was doing that too today. I was looking for a new puppy because my daughter said she might want a puppy. And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, I want a puppy. Who am I kidding? I'm a dog person. So my friend said I should get one now instead of waiting for Dim to pass.
You know, it's well, let's hope Dim lives a little while yet. You know that he still has plenty of time.
Believe me, she's having the best time of her life. Like we even took her on a pugcation because she's half pug and my son's pug.
Oh, okay.
I was looking after. So we went on this vacation, and I took the dogs with me, and we ended up calling it a pugcation because everything's centered around the dogs. You can't keep them in the hotels by themselves. You got to take them to where a dog would want to go, a human and a dog. So, we went on lovely hikes in the lake and went to visit my friend who had 2 dogs. So we have all these pictures, and people were laughing at us, me and my daughter, because we're going across Alberta with these 2 dogs. But they had the time of their life, and my son, who, reason he didn't have his dog was because he had the newborn baby.
Oh, okay.
And so I took the pug with me just to give them a break, and they can get used to being new parents. But he's like, he's having a better summer than me on his pugcation. And that's sad, too, because I can't even see my I call him my fur baby grandson. I can't see him.
Yeah, well, hey, the fur babies, they are a family. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm looking here at the comments. We got a lot coming in. I see Sleeping Angels. He says, thank you for this interview. Sleeping Angels, I'm honored to have Michelle here as always. She's wonderful, wonderful guest. And Frankie has a question for us. He's asking, will wrestling change at all after this virus takes its course? Maybe doing more shows early?
Well, I was excited about the changes that are going to come because of this horrific thing, right?
Yes.
It's just like the phoenix rising up. It's, it's going to obliterate so much, and our ways of life are certainly going to change. Like, even myself as a phys ed teacher, can kids actually play a contact sport anymore? Can they share the same hockey sticks? Like, I'm just wondering, are they going to, because this pandemic, they say comes in cycles, and it's either going to burn out like the Spanish flu did, because we didn't have a vaccine for that. It burnt itself out, or does it mutates into something that's tolerable, like it's not, not so horrible, or we get a vaccine. I don't know, but I know it's going to change things on the school level, so certainly it'll change wrestling. I was even thinking, like, would the wrestlers have to wear a full bodysuit? Like, they can't, touch body to body? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing can change, and maybe now maybe they're going to have to tape shows early, ahead of time, especially if this virus goes in cycles, or if they're worried about cases spiking up, or if we have, say, a lockdown for a while, then they take it off for a little bit, then you get locked down again. I mean, it's going to be very touch and go with this.
Right, and like, who can afford that? Like, to, book and secure this talent and these places, and then it gets canceled. So television would probably be the safe bet for at least till something like that happens, that the virus mutates into non-existence or something tolerable.
I agree.
Or we get a vaccine. So I think until then, certainly wrestling's going to evolve, because wrestling, that's the one thing about wrestling, right? It's been here since ancient Greece.
That's right.
So I don't think it's not going to die away. It is certainly going to change. And we're so creative. I'm sure it'll be even better.
You know what? I think it has a chance to be, because if anybody can evolve and move along with the times. It is the sport of professional wrestling because it has evolved so much over time already. And maybe now this is just going to be that next evolution that the business has to take moving forward. And I see here, Michelle, and I know you said, when we did our last podcast, that you'd be comfortable taking all questions. But
Oh, yes.
I see right here from Jay, one of our viewers, Jay, he says you do not have to answer this question if you don't want. But
he's going to hardball me? He said he's going to hardball me. My first question, and I'm getting a hardball. Go ahead, Jay.
He is. He would like to know how Teddy is doing. How is he holding up?
Oh, my Teddy, my Teddy, my Teddy. Just like I have no direct insider scoops for wrestling, I don't have that for Teddy either. Other than I know that when we had a show in January, one of the wrestlers that were on the show, and I don't want to name names, but he was telling me how Teddy was in a great spot in his life, and he had all these. A wrestling school was going to open up in Florida, and and this guy had money to back Teddy to make sure it was happening, and he said just things started happening that weren't helping the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with, I think, personally, that the girl, Maria.
Okay.
And I think both of them, I've had a boyfriend like that too. I've been in toxic relationships. I think the relationship is toxic. I wanted to be supportive of them. And at the beginning, I could see how they were bringing the best out of each other. But then, when the camera shuts off, I don't know if you guys have been watching those, Jay. Maybe you're watching the Unfiltered Adventures. Well, it was so bad they had to filter it. Like, that was the funny thing. It was like, it was supposed to be Unfiltered Adventures, and it was so bad they had to cut out things. And I know his poor parents, the family want him home so that we can look after him and support him.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what he needs. And, and I just watched, I don't know if you guys watched the Chris Benoit Part 2.
Oh, yes, I watched actually both parts, yes.
Yeah, I haven't watched that series. I only watched it because it said, you can watch Part 1. What is that? What is the show, The Ring?
Oh,
Dark Side of the Ring?
Yes.
Dark Side of the Ring?
Dark Side of the Ring,
Yeah, so I watched Part 1 because I had never seen it. And then Part 2 was airing last week. So I watched both. And right after that, this thing happened with Teddy. And I was like, I was so worried that maybe Teddy has CTE.
You know what the thing is, Michelle, and I'm not even kidding you. It's funny that you bring that up because I was worried and I was thinking the same thing. Could that be a possibility?
Well, and then she posted some video explaining that it wasn't Teddy's fault and yada yada, and I was like, listen, girl, you need to stay away from him, and he needs to get home, and he needs to be taken care of. He needs to be able to access, the hospital and tests, and I am so worried about him.
I don't blame you. I was very concerned, when I read what was going on, and I was thinking to myself when I first read about it, I'm like, you know what, I'm not, I'm not gonna bring that up, myself, and then here
I'm very worried, very we all are. I just worry, get back here and we can look after you. I don't know, there's got to be more than, mental illness.
I agree. There's got to be something there, and it's a matter of, Getting him home.
And it was just like Chris Benoit. It was like no one could ever imagine him ever doing anything like that. And it's like, I can't imagine Teddy doing anything like that. And it's like, okay, if these kinds of stories have happened once, okay, well, no, that's not his fault. And 2, no, like, okay, again. But 3, no. There is something going on. It's getting worse. Like, there's some loss of control. There's personality I don't recognize. Like, so I want him to come home and I want him to get tested. And can they even help somebody with CTE? Like, I don't know. I don't know about.
As far
it's not a happy ending. That's for sure.
As far as I heard, Michelle, as far as testing for CTE, things that I've heard, on television programs and things of that nature, I don't know if things have changed since I heard about these things, but because, you never know, things change all the time. It's been a couple of years since I heard about, this stuff with CTE, but what I heard is there's no way to like really diagnose somebody with it until they pass away, and they take out they take out the brain like they did with Chris Benoit, and they do the study on the brain, and that's when they can find it.
Well, and I think Tom had it too.
Tom, he took a lot of blows to the head, just like Chris did, because they both did the diving headbutt.
And that part 2, the Dark Side of the Ring, the Chris Benoit part 2 story, when they showed those head shots, the chair shots in the 90s.
Yes.
I was like, Teddy was doing those all the time.
Yeah, and when you see something like that, that's when it probably made you think, like, oh God, could this be a possibility?
Yeah, it breaks my heart. I'm so worried about him. But there's just such terrible things going on in the world.
It seems like a lot of just negativity, with the coronavirus happening, and it's been really hard, and it's interesting, that you mentioned, to me about, your partner being a heavy smoker, and your mom being a heavy smoker. And it's interesting because everybody's worried about me for kind of the same reasons, because when I was born, my lungs were underdeveloped because I was born 12 weeks early. And, that's how I got the cerebral palsy and everything. But my lungs were also underdeveloped. And, I did something probably, a lot of teenagers, do in their time. I was one of them. I would, smoke with my friends, like at age 13. And I started, smoking. Luckily, I never became a real heavy smoker. I've been around like, probably when you hear the number, you might laugh, but I've been around like a 4 cigarette a day smoker.
Yeah.
I'm
Is that even a smoker?
That's what people have asked me before. I'm like
4 cigarette. You probably healed up by the time you had the next cigarette.
I'm a real.
Okay, no, don't listen to me. I am a ex-smoker. I've quit 3 times in my life.
Wow.
And it is the hardest thing to do is quit smoking.
I found dieting easier. I found so many things easier, and even though I'm such a light smoker, it's like I still gotta have it in some way, shape, or form, but, everybody's worried about me if I get it, because, well, with my disability, a little bit of a weakened immune system, being a light smoker, and that's where everybody's concerns comes in with me. And, so I was just thinking about that, too, when you were telling me about that, and, people are having the same concerns for me as far as, like my family, of course. I'm worried about my mom and dad, and You know, it's
I can't believe we're living this, because I was sort of always fascinated with the Black Plague and the Spanish flu, and I have a book on all the pandemics in the past, and I just, for some reason, I didn't think it really happened to us. Like, I know we had the SARS, and it was like, we're just always able to snuff it out,
mm-hmm.
We'll control it. Like, I just can't believe it's out of control like this.
I wish I had. I wish I had a video of this, but I don't. And the really weird thing is, whether anybody believes my story or not, I'm gonna tell it because, when I think now, it's just so weird how everything happened. It was about October of 2019, and I was having a conversation with my mom. And the funny thing is, she goes to me, she's like, for some reason, I feel like 2020 is going to be a hard year in some way. I feel like, she's like, I don't feel like it's, going to be like the usual way of hard. She's like, I feel like it's going to be hard in the way of there's going to be a lot of sickness or a lot of death or some kind of bad things are going to happen. And I was like, oh, don't talk like that. Don't think negative. And she's like, oh, I just had
Yeah.
this gut feeling. And then 2020 comes in, and then this stuff starts, and I'm like, oh my God, she's right.
Well, yeah, even when it started in China, I just felt that they're going to get a grasp on it. They're going to snuff it out. And nope. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't believe this. Like, my students are out of school till the end of the year. Like, that's it. Like, we packed up all their stuff, gave it to them, said goodbye. See, well, you're online now.
Also,
And that's it. And I was like, okay. Like, we never get this, close the school. And, we just joke about it. Like, we're like, okay, when is the school ever going to get closed? They're like, well, if it got below 40. And then we got below 40, and they're like, well, the school buses will stop, but we can't close the school. And then it was like almost 49, and they still didn't close the school.
oh my God.
Just, just in case a student their parent drops them off, right? Which we still do. It's like, sometimes it's glorified babysitting in those situations, but we have fun on those snow days. And then we had that big flood in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the principal called me and said, you need to come into school because somebody might drop off their kids. But he goes, if you're not comfortable coming into school, you don't have to. And I go, you know what? I'm not crossing a river, leaving my children here, and then maybe the bridges break and I can't get back to my kids. I go, no, I'm gonna stay here. So it was nice that our boss did that. But I mean, the school is still open.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the river flooded the school, it still would have been open. But to actually have our school closed is just so strange, but surreal is what it is.
And Frankie is asking a question. He says, "Will the kids have to repeat the year?" Oh my!
Oh yeah, we already. Oh yeah, that was one of the April Fool's jokes. Yesterday I saw people posting, you should have seen my kid when I said you have to repeat grade whatever. No, in Canada we don't pass or fail kids until they're in high school.
Mm-hmm.
They don't repeat. They have modifications if they are failing for whatever reason, if it's learning disability or attendance or stuff at home. Like, we do accommodate and try to encourage and help the child along. They say, failing them is worse than, passing them along with their peers. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember some kid, he looked like he was 40 years old in grade 8.
Wow.
Like, he had failed 3 times, and he had puberty early, so he looked like a man.
Mm-hmm.
In grade 8, and we're like, oh my God, how many years has he failed? Can you imagine being that person?
Oh.
So no, it's kids aren't going to be failed. They completed 75% of the curriculum, and certainly they have the skills to move on to the next grade. And if they, aren't done something, of course, we'll catch them up in September. The thing is, they are saying that the second wave will come in September.
Wow.
If we don't have a vaccine, or if it doesn't mutate out or whatever.
At least here in the United States, I've heard that they're not planning on a vaccine being here until...
A year, at least a year.
Like around April.
If we're lucky. If we're lucky, right? A year.
If we're lucky, yes.
So that's what I think we're probably just going to plan for the kids coming. My school starts like August 15th-ish, like around there.
Mm-hmm.
The staff comes back, and then the kids come about August 20th. But I bet we plan for, everything normal, but also having our plan B ready.
I got you. Now, I'm looking here, Michelle. Wow, we got a lot of people in here tonight.
Ask me questions, guys.
You're probably
Otherwise, I'll start talking about my spring cleaning.
You're probably gonna laugh at this name, but this is the name. This is the name that came up on my screen, so I'm just repeating what her name is. It's a viewer. Her name is Crazy Bitch.
Oh.
And she says, I listened to the other 3 interviews on replay of you and Michelle, and I love them. Glad to have her back.
Aw, on replay?
Yeah, because after, after we're done, this video goes up on YouTube, so anybody that missed, they could watch them on replay.
Oh, great.
And Frankie, by the way, he said he agrees with you. Failing them crushes their hope. And Jay says that he is wishing Teddy the best.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for both those comments. Kids, nobody fails. You know what fails? The system fails the child. It's up to the teacher and the parents to advocate for that child and to figure out the way they learn. Because everybody learns differently. Our system is based on the Ford factory model. It's based on you sit in your desk and listen, and I'll pour this information in you, and you'll repeat it back. That's not the kind of citizen we need, nor want. We don't need these robots.
Exactly.
And only 10% of the population, me being one of them, learn like that. And those are the ones that can just sit there, understand what the prof is saying, and repeat it back.
You're right.
But, you asked me a year after that class is over, I don't remember a damn thing. So it's like, oh, great. So, I'm so smart, but I can't apply it a year later because I don't remember it. So the real learning is, things that we really care about and we're passionate about. So if the kid does not care for writing, why are we making them write in that way? Like holding a pencil and writing on a piece of paper is not the only way to communicate.
Yes.
You can draw a comic, which is very, high-level thinking. You can use word processing on a computer. Oh, what kid doesn't want to type it out on an iPad?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And, so the kids don't fail, we fail kids. I should sell that T-shirt. Somebody do that for me. Somebody make me that T-shirt.
And we got a special viewer in here, Michelle. We have my mom, Mama T. She's in here and she says, "Hi, Michelle."
Hi, Mama T.
Yeah, so she's even coming in and checking this out. Everybody's in here tonight. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions for Michelle, bring them forward. I know you're having fun listening to us, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know that I have one, Michelle, and it's actually something that I've been wanting to talk to you about.
All right.
Since the day after we did our last show.
The day after.
Because the day after we did our last show, Crown Jewel happened.
Right.
And I was so proud to see your niece, Natalya Neidhart, wrestle in the first ever women's match in Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, oh my God, this is such an incredible honor. I'm like, I want to talk to Michelle about this so bad. And
I know, and I was so excited that it was her. Like, it was her that got to be chosen to be the first woman. Like, come on. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Vince, for choosing her. And, you know, Tom and Davey and Brett went to Saudi Arabia. And I got the funniest pictures of Brett and Tom with camels, and Tom wearing it looked like the tea towel with the band around it. I don't know the proper name for it, but that's what it looks like, like a shepherd. He looks like a shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the big, the white thing. The tablecloth. Looks like a big tablecloth. But, yeah, we got the cutest pictures. And Saudi Arabia, what a honor to be the first woman to wrestle.
And I believe she was the first woman to even walk to the ring, I think. I think she came out before Lacey did, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think she was also the first woman to walk down, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And just watching their match and seeing the display of emotion from both Natty and Lacey, and the fact that Natty got the win to become the first ever woman to win a match.
And she got put over like that?
It was amazing, and I was thinking right at that point, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Michelle. I was just, I wanted to talk to you so bad about it because I was so excited. It was. I
know, and I was so excited that she was wrestling, but to have her arm raised, it's like, oh. Okay, Vince, everything negative I ever said to you, I take it back just for that. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's an incredible honor right there. I mean, Natalya, she's going to be remembered for that forever.
Well, Brett said a long time ago that, because of his name, he had to work that much harder to prove how good he was and for people to appreciate him because... How did he say that? Like his brothers that went to Japan before him.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them, and I'm not going to name names because there was 3. One of them kind of had like a negative reputation. Just so when he went there, he had to like say, "No, I'm not like him. This is me." And Tom did take him there because my sister was married to Brett, so Tom really did help Brett along there to Japan. And, and then even Vince, when Vince took Tom, it was Tom who wanted them to bring Davey. Or Tom wanted to come. Tom wanted a partner. He wanted his cousin because he did not like being alone on the road. Like, he goes from this, I don't know if you heard about how wild the Stampede Wrestling road trips would be, but there's such a huge, sense of, traveling together and bonding in the van and the ribs, and I know they have all these negative things about Tom, but he was actually quite hilarious, and some of these ribs they weren't mean-spirited. They were almost mean-spirited, but they're so funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Like I don't know if you heard about the John Foley ones, or have you heard about the John Foley ribs?
I think that you may have told me one of the John Foley ones on our first interview, I think.
Yeah, his former manager, J.R. Foley. But they would get him so drunk, because his wife would get so mad, and John liked to hang out with the boys, and he's driving 4 hours to Edmonton and back. So yeah, they give John the beer, and they drop him off at his wife's house and ring the doorbell and watch from the van while she's screaming at him, and he'd have like his cigarettes and shaving cream on top of his head with a bunch of cigarettes and put out on top, like, I never touched a drop, Vera. And he said he wouldn't know that he was like, got beer all spilt all over him, ashes everywhere, and shaving cream, and he's like, I didn't have a drop. But yeah. But yeah, so then he goes to New York, and he's by himself in singles. He does know a few people from Japan, but he didn't have that sense of, a heel van, babyface van, a heel van, and all of them having their own little program in the van to put up with these long road trips.
Yes.
So there was, they're partying in there. Let's just face it. They're partying in there after the show, having a good time, and he did not have that anymore. He was alone. He had to drive. He had to ask people, and that's one thing. He had so much pride. He didn't want to ask for help from anybody. Like, how do I get to the show? How do I rent a car? Like, these are things he didn't have to do. He was always taken care of.
Yeah.
So it was a learning curve for him, and he didn't like it. And he was at the bottom of the card. He was used to being the superstar. Not that he was big-headed, but he was like, it was frustrating because they weren't using him like he thought they should, to their benefit. Like, it would be to their benefit if they used him. But that's not how New York worked. It was like, you kind of got to prove yourself. And it takes so many years. Look how long it took Natty.
Oh, it took a long time, yes.
Oh, it was painful. When she was doing that farting thing, I thought that was so disrespectful. And that girl never complained. Never, not to her family, not to her friends, nobody.
Really?
She just said, oh, no, she's just grateful, to have a chance to work and have a steady paycheck. And I was like, oh my God, she's a saint. She truly is.
Yeah, that's just...
and and Vince does really like her. Like, he's fond of her.
Well,
so obviously, giving her that win in Saudi Arabia, like, letting her be the girl, is awesome.
That's bigger than any championship, I believe. That was even bigger than a main event at WrestleMania in my eyes for the women. And for Natty to have that honor is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And now, I can't wait to see, when the time comes down the road when Natty takes her rightful place in the Hall of Fame, just like Davey Boy, was set to do. That's also something we could touch on, with Davey Boy. That was another thing, when I first heard that news, when it leaked out, I'm like, oh my God, I want to get Michelle's take on this.
Well, I couldn't even say anything. Like, it's like, come on, announce it already, and people are guessing, and then somebody said, yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame, and I was like, congratulations, and I was like, no, it wasn't officially announced, and I had to take my congratulations off.
Yeah.
I was posting, and then I had to take it down. Because I don't know, they just waited to the last minute, and then the whole COVID thing blew up, and I was like, that's a shame. That's a shame, because Diana and Harry and Georgia so deserve walking on that stage and having Davey honored with that.
Oh, absolutely. And, now...
And I don't know, like, now it takes that away from them, but,
I don't know what they're even going to do with the Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. I haven't heard, really barely anything. I mean, the only thing I did hear is that possibly the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania could be, like, Hall of Fame speeches that are taped, but then I never heard anything about that once they started getting into stricter lockdown policies along the state, so
yeah,
I don't even know.
Pre-recorded.
I heard that it could be moved to SummerSlam, but even at that point, I don't think SummerSlam is going to be held in front of a live audience, if the virus counts keep going up. I mean, our counts here in the States right now have gone so far out of control. We're like over 240,000. We're nearing 250,000 cases in the States here. And the death toll is going up at a rampant rate where I think we're at about 6,000 right now, and we were just in the hundreds like a week or 2 weeks ago when the death tolls too. So I mean, the cases are just going so far up, and I'm thinking, if this keeps up, they're not going to be able to hold any events for the rest of the year. It's not going to be worth the risk.
No. And, in Shakespeare's time, they would, they dissembled the Globe Theater. They would take it all down, and it was put away for 2 years.
Wow.
The plague.
Something like this could happen, and, the whole thing is, too, this could be the new way of life for wrestling and gatherings, because the whole thing is, even when the vaccine comes out, I mean, you read all kinds of things online because I'm always trying to search, stuff. And one of the rumors going around, whenever a vaccine's even available in a year, if we're lucky, the rumor is that the vaccine might only last us a year, and then you got to get vaccinated again. So I don't even know how this is going to go if it even comes out.
And plus the mutations, it can mutate. So you could get a vaccine and then it mutates to something worse or something, that we can handle. But I don't know. But we can talk about the good things, though.
Yes.
There's some really good things that are happening, like people are staying home with their children. Imagine that. Like, as a teacher, I sometimes feel like I'm with your children more than you are because our lives are so busy. It's not the parents' fault. I'm just saying that's just our culture is so driven and ambitious and, like more. Like, some of those kids had so many activities. They had dance lessons, they had gymnastics, they had, like, it was, and performance-based activities, like, tests and stuff. Or I don't know, it was just a lot of pressure. I've noticed my last 5 years of teaching, actually the last 10 years of teaching, the stress and anxiety and depression is just at an all-time high, and you wonder why. It's like GMOs in the food, and it's like, how about you guys stay home and chill out and be a family, like play a game. And I was raised on a farm. We didn't have toys. We had something called your imagination. Hours and hours we'd play, my brother and I. And cousins would come over. Like we didn't have toys. We had imagination.
You had to make your own way of fun.
Yeah, we always had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like climbing trees, hiking, finding tadpoles, and we knew our neighbors, and like everybody's so busy. This slows you right down.
It does.
This tells you, what is important in life. And everyone, I feel like we're all on the same level.
Yeah, we are.
The haves and have-nots, it's like we're all in this together.
That's
Your
right.
Your money is not going to save you.
No, absolutely not.
Right?
Absolutely not. You're 100% right.
So there's some good things, like, getting back your family time, really reevaluating what's important in life, and and sometimes it takes a tragedy to learn those lessons.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a pandemic teaching the whole world, not just a family. Like, we had a lot of terrible things happen in our family.
But you always rose above every single time.
Yeah, we always stuck together, right?
Yes.
Family and friends, because friends have to hold that family together, because sometimes the family separates, but they come back. I'm talking about when Owen died and the whole family just, like, fractured.
Yes. Yes, and see, over time, and it came back together.
Well, when Matt died, it was so, Georgia, Teddy's 13-year-old brother.
Wow. Yeah,
Are you cooking there, Big T?
Actually,
are you fixing me something on the Barbie? Sounds like you're scraping the barbecue.
actually, I was hoping. I'm looking out here, as I'm talking with you. I'm looking out here, and actually, Mama T, she's making dinner, and I'm like, I wonder if this is
Mama's cooking.
Mama's cooking. Yep.
That's the other thing that's happening great because of the pandemic. Girls are learning how to cook for their men. Men are learning how to cook for their girls because you can't go to the restaurant. You're relying on real food.
That's
awesome.
right. I'm looking here, Michelle. I see a question here from Frankie, and he's asking. He says, "Michelle, are there truths that the fans will never know about these wrestlers/athletes because of the media or the promotions that they have worked for? But overall, were the Bulldogs and others depicted fairly? As a fan, I want to believe that they were."
Sorry, like depicted fairly?
Yes, that's what he put. Overall, were the Bulldogs and other depicted fairly?
Well, I only hear great things about the Bulldogs. Is he talking about the personal issues?
Yes, Frankie. Can you clear that up for us, please?
Is he talking about their personal demons?
I'll see what he puts in to us. Hopefully,
Like he's just got to ask me specifically. Is this true? Is blah blah true? Yeah. I'm not a mind reader, Frankie. I'm a mother of 5 and a teacher, but I'm not a mind reader.
Let's see. I'm trying to go back here and read too while we're waiting for his response. Are there truths that the fans will never know about these wrestlers athletes? Let's see. He says, Frankie just put, he says, I have certain memories, but they only were told to me by the promotion. Oh, okay. Which promotion, Frankie? The promotion of the media, like how they promote stuff from the media? I think that's what he's talking about. He says he has certain memories of them, but they were only told to him by the promotion, so I'm assuming he's meaning the promotion of the media.
Well, it depends what he's talking about, because there's a lot of negative press about Tom, and it does frustrate me because, yes, we had some problems with the marriage, and yes, he had problems with his temper, and it progressively got so bad that I bought him a one-way ticket to England. I didn't stay in for the long haul because I could see what a negative influence he'd be on my children. And at that point, too, parallel with his wrestling, it was going down that way as well. And I think even back then that he must have had brain injuries. The CTE must have been starting because his personality did change.
Mm-hmm.
Like he always was short-fused, as Stu would call me. At Dynamite, he's got a short fuse. And I was like, yes, he has a short fuse. But, I mean, it just got worse before the back operation. He was in a lot of pain with that back. But even before that, I think 2 years into WWE, I think 2 years into it, I would say his personality started to change, and that was probably the onset of the CTE.
Oh, okay.
Combined with the injuries, the prescription. He relied on the prescription drugs to just make it through, right?
Yes. That's what I heard in the stories too. That he was relying on that, and
so that stuff is true if that's what he means.
Yes,
and Davey also had injuries, and he also had, addiction.
And
So that's not a secret. So yeah.
Frankie said that I was right, by the promotion, of the media, and he said, or the WWF, like how they promoted them too. And he goes on today to say, he says, it's so sad these wrestlers were larger than life, but it makes me feel good to know that they were real people with real problems and not just characters.
Yeah, and I think that maybe they were hesitant, or Vince was hesitant to give the Hall of Fame to Davey because of the negative press. But, it's not about his personal life. Like, it should always be, their work, their canon of work. There's so many people that are less deserving of the Hall of Fame, and they're in there. Donald Trump being one.
Donald Trump's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, and he never even wrestled.
I know.
So
he's in the Hall of Fame.
All he did was shave Vince McMahon's head at WrestleMania. There, he gives you a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah.
And then...
And I it was disappointing that they didn't go in as, the British Bulldogs together. Mm-hmm. But I understand, like, Davey was there a couple years longer. Davey, he had that, the Wimbledon, the day at the Wimbledon.
Yes.
God, it's just slipping my head.
And I was chuckling a little bit back there too, because I think your Stu Hart impression is spot on.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm just thinking about? I know it's going to be a question that's going to be asked by somebody at some time, so I feel that I'm just going to ask it right now, because I know you just brought up the Hall of Fame and how people should be remembered for their body of work, and it brings me to this question. And the reason why I got this is because I got this idea from Dark Side of the Ring, when I heard certain people in the wrestling business talk about this and give their opinions. Do you feel that Chris Benoit should be inducted into the Hall of Fame at any point ever?
I would say yes, if his sister-in-law Sandra approves. Mm-hmm. I think it's up to her. I think she's the one that matters. Her and her parents.
Yes.
If she says, because she did say, in that Dark Side of the Ring, she said that she would forgive him someday, but she's not ready yet. So that said to me that one day, if she is ready, then she would be maybe the one that says it's okay, and then it should be okay with us, because if it's okay with her, it should be okay with us.
Exactly.
But I really think that's going to be a long time. And I also think maybe Tom's connection with Benoit is somehow clouding Vince too, from not wanting Tom in there because of that. I don't know. Yeah. I hope he's not putting him in there because of what I said on CNN.
You never know. I mean, you never know what he.
But I've always said, like, it's
a little bit of the bubbly.
It wasn't. I didn't reveal that on CNN to put Tom in a dark light. I revealed that so people would see the human side, that we don't know what was going on behind closed doors, nor do we know what was going on in his mind. There's a combination of things. Now we know, okay, they did the brain thing and they found out it was CTE. But I think there's still people that don't believe it. But after watching the Dark Side of Wrestling, like, how could you not believe it?
Exactly. And it's got me thinking too, about Owen. I know that we talked about this briefly in our first show that we ever did together, about Owen being inducted into the Hall of Fame and how we'd like to see it happen. But I remember we were talking about, how that's up to his wife, Martha. And, I don't think I ever followed it up when we were talking about that. Do you think that there would ever be a chance that Martha would give the approval to let Owen into the Hall of Fame?
Well, after what's going on right now in the world, never say never. Never say never.
That's true, because we never thought this would happen. We never thought.
Did we ever think? No. So, and then too, like, maybe at some point it's, Martha and I are not on this earth anymore, and it's our children are my age now, and they're making decisions, like Oj makes the decision to put his father in the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't believe he'd do that, just from what I've heard, but they're all really adamant of never having anything ever to do with wrestling ever, but which is sad, because Owen truly did love that business,
Oh, I could just tell by the way he was, how he conducted himself in interviews and just being the fun-loving guy that he was. He loved the business so much. So much. And,
it's in his blood. So.
Absolutely. Owen was... He was one of my favorites. The matches with Owen and Brad in 1994 were some of the greatest matches, that I've seen.
Yeah. So who knows?
You never know. Anything can
Maybe
happen.
Oj's, his grandchildren might induct their great-great-grandfather.
It could happen someday.
Yeah, when we're not here and we can't influence it either way, right? Because all that emotion is, with each generation, that emotion will get less and less.
Yes.
Right.
And I was just thinking now as well, I know you said that the kids, in the school are going to be out for the rest of the year. Now, was that the rest of the school year and possibly going back in August, or is that the rest of the calendar year for 2020?
Well, as far as we are just operating on the school year, because that's how it goes when the government gives us the money. It just goes till the end of June. So as far as we know, because I even said, aren't we going to maybe be back in June? And they're all just, like, this is our administrators. They're like shaking their head going, no. No. So, and they talk to, the learning minister who talks to the premier. That's like your guys' governor.
Yes.
So our premier is telling the minister, who's telling the superintendents, who's telling my boss that, this year's a write-off, and I don't know. They said, because I asked something else. Like, okay, so when we get back, are we going to be able to be in the gym? Are we going to have our own personalized, like, pencil box and yada yada? And he's like, you know what? He goes, I could say, he goes, but it'll change tomorrow. That's how everything is happening so quickly.
Wow.
Like, he tells us one thing, and then the next day it's different because they change their minds or something else happened. I was like, oh. I don't know if I told you this, but right behind my school there's an assessment center. There's 3 of them, A, B, C, and it's an old children's hospital. They turned it into a diagnostic place where I remember my son had a kind of a dent in his head, and I had to see if he had to wear a helmet because I didn't want a kid with my other kids were calling him a jelly bean head because it was a dent. He was my twin, one of my twins. There's those squished in there anyway. His head was kind of dented. So this hospital is all suited up for that. So, you can, go get your foot in a cast and get your kid's head fixed, which they didn't. They said his head wasn't crooked enough. It wasn't dented enough, and his ears weren't crooked, and his eyes weren't crooked, so he couldn't have a helmet. But anyway, this hospital now is like shut down, and it's only testing possible COVID people. And every time I go, when I first went by it, there was no cars, and then like a couple of days later, I saw one car. I'm like, oh no, okay, there's somebody getting tested. And then it's been 2 weeks now, and there's still only one car there. One car waiting to get tested. So I keep thinking, okay, well, that's going to be a barometer for me. If I see like 2 cars and then 3 cars and then like 50 cars. But there is still only one car there. So, and that's been going on since March 2nd, the testing center.
Oh, so it's a month exactly.
It's a month, and there's still only one car there. So I'm thinking that's a good sign.
That is a good sign. If it's been staying that way for a month, it's a good sign. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, we're a little bit ahead of you guys on our plans and stuff. So.
Yeah, and I noticed your cases are lower too. Than here.
Well, we don't have the population you guys have, and I think when was our first case? It was just end of February.
Oh, okay. So yeah, ours was. I don't know if it was the end of January, like right after the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. I think you guys are a month ahead. So like, a month from now, I could be like you saying, "Oh my God, it's in the 200,000." They do say it's going to get up there. That's what I find too, right? Like, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and there's moments when I'm like, I can't take this anymore. And someone wise said to me once, like, Michelle, you think too far in the future. Sometimes you think of the what ifs, and then sometimes I think too much about the past, and I'm sad about that. And it's like, you just need to learn to live in the moment. And guess what? This pandemic is forcing all of us just to live in the moment.
It is.
We can't base anything on yesterday, and we cannot predict tomorrow, like for sure. So, and it's given me such a sense of peace to just let it be and just live in the moment. Like right now, I have enough food. I got my kid's puffer. My dog's great. Like everybody's. I still have my job. Like I was worried I might lose my job.
Yeah.
And I can't worry tomorrow I might lose my job. I can't worry about it because I'm like, okay, right now I have my job. And even if I lose it, we have, I don't know if you guys are getting some support from your federal government, but we're getting, I know I can access at least $2,000. Like they're guaranteeing everybody gets $2,000 right across the board. If anything happens, like if I lost my job today, I could get this. So that prevents me from worrying about tomorrow.
Over here, I believe how they have it in the States, I believe it is for families making, up to $75,000 a year or less, they're going to get checks for $1,200, I believe.
Yeah, and like people with mortgage payments and credit card payments and property tax and yada yada, like it's like $1,200. I could spend that in a week just on my bills. I couldn't even pay all my bills with that.
Exactly. Bills are so much money. I mean, and
that's what they need to do. They need to say, no, you don't. No credit card bills, no utilities, no gas, you don't have to pay any of those bills. No mortgage payments, no rent payment. They just need to let us live free until they get this shit under control.
That's right.
But what they are doing is I can access credit. I can defer. And I was telling my children, defer just means you're going to pay later. I go, like, with what? If I lost my job and I was getting $2,000 a month to live for my basic needs, and I'm supposedly supposed to pay all these bills with that $2,000, like, how am I going to have any money saved up to pay this lump sum gas bill or this lump sum electricity bill or this 6 months of mortgage payments? And, like, no, I'm not going to have that.
Yeah, there's no way. And, another thing, I know this kind of goes against, the whole living in the moment thing, and I kind of sound like I'm worrying too much about the future, but,
I'm going to tell you right now, you can't worry about it, because whatever you are worrying about, it might be okay, and it might be worse. So don't even waste your energy on it.
Well, I was just thinking, what's going to happen to these businesses, when this pandemic is over, and say they've been out of work for a certain amount of time, some places may not even open up again, like my friend Bill, the photographer in North Carolina.
I got a job for him.
Okay.
Can I interrupt you, because I'll forget?
Sure.
Tell Bill that he can offer family portraits on the porch. Tell Bill that he needs to capture things that really symbolize what's happening right now. People wearing a mask, or, grandparents waving to grandparents through a window. Like those kind of photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll have the one that he gives to National Geographic or something.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, like how
there's animals, like animals on roads. Like we have a town here in Canada where like all the deer are laying around on the main road because there's no cars. It's beautiful, like those things are never going to happen again.
Yeah, and then people are going to have a demand for a photograph from that moment in time, and yeah.
Well, my friend is a photographer, and I'm like, if my porch wasn't so chipped, I would ask her to come and take a portrait of me and my family. But my one daughter's here, and my partner, and my dog, Din. But yeah, I can phone her up and say, Josie, come and take my family portrait, because this is a thing. So your friend could be making money. Trinity was, she edited a paper for her friend. She didn't change any content. She only wordsmithed it. Trinity and I are phenomenal writers. So she said her friend has this paper. She was really worried that it needs to be a really good mark. And this girl gets good marks, but she had a bad week or something. So I looked over her paper. We wordsmithed it. And it took us about an hour. And she went from probably like a B plus to an A plus.
Wow.
And I said, Trinity, that is a job. I go, we'll call it professional editing. $50. I said, $50, friends and family. But I'm just thinking all these, would be, we're resourceful. You got to think of different ways to make money.
That's right.
But your photographer friend, I wish I had that skill.
Yeah, he, actually what he did, I don't know if I ever told you about him, he photographed wrestling for the past 40 years.
Yeah, now photographing AEW shows with nobody in the audience, like those are going to be worth some money.
Yeah.
Not that he'd do it for money, but for us, it's like capturing the essence of the moment.
Exactly, because
I don't mean to be so flippant about it, because I love wrestling, and I can't imagine being a wrestler and having to work without an audience, because I know how much their matches depend on the interactions of the audience. Like the crowd has more control than they realize.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
they can help determine what's going on in there based on the crowd's reactions. So then I thought, oh well, now because even now that we know it's the endings are pre planned, but at least we could suspend reality while we're watching it.
That's right.
The crowd together. It's like this is real. This is really happening. But now, like, there's no crowd, and the wrestlers have to suspend reality without their support system.
I was watching, and when Stone Cold Steve Austin came down to the ring, he was going up in every corner, doing his usual pose that he would do, and then he's like, "Give me a hell yeah!" And then I'm like, I wonder how this is gonna work out.
Yeah, but it's incredible, right?
It is.
Did you watch? That's the other thing that's going on. I'm a huge Chris Jericho fan right now. Le Champion. Le Champion.
Too.
He had it was on the Facebook. He had a live feed that we could all join in and watch him drink vodka on Saturday night. Oh, I loved it. But I was like, I wish he would just, like, look down. Maybe you can give him some tips, Big T. But, like, how come he couldn't read questions? Why was it going so fast?
The whole thing is, when you have such a huge following, like Chris Jericho does, I know on Facebook it works different. He was on Facebook Live and not YouTube. I know Facebook, all of the comments come in real fast and they kind of disappear. On YouTube Live Chat, how it works, like what I use, like say if he would change to that, use that next time, he'll have a bunch of messages coming in at one time and then he can scroll back through the messages and see what he missed.
Right. Can he freeze it?
I think there probably is a way on Facebook Live to do it, or there's got to be a way to go back and look at your comments. I think
he needs to get his wife in there, and she needs to write down the questions that she likes.
Yes.
And then he could read the question. Because I'm like, he needs a second person.
Yeah,
right?
when you're trying to operate with that big of an audience watching you, of God knows how many thousands, were watching him, you need somebody else in there to help you.
It was, I think the highest was 4.4 thousand, I saw.
Wow. That's a big
4,400. I think that's the highest I noticed. It could have got higher, but I noticed when he sang it dropped down to 3.1.
I love the show, though, the Saturday night special, I don't know if
I must say one thing that I didn't like about it was that he was drinking for real. So I thought he was drinking too fast. And I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but there's so many kids out there watching it, like... Mm-hmm. And I know he had to loosen up or something to talk, but...
Yeah,
do that before you turn the camera on.
Yeah, have a nice cocktail before you turn the camera on, things of that nature. Like, for me, the only time I really, drink a beer on camera is when I, review. I'll do, like, when there's not much wrestling stuff going on, I'll go on and I'll do, like, a beer review or a food review. And, my fans seem to like that, too. I try to get into a little bit of everything. And if I got to review something, that's pretty much when I'll drink or eat on camera. Otherwise, I don't. Like now when I'm doing this, the only thing you'll pretty much see by me is a bottle of water, if that, which right now, I don't have one, but at times I do have it. And, that's just part of going along when you're on air to kind of keep your voice fresh, that kind of thing. But and
he was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. Like I don't mean to badmouth him, but I just worry. I think everyone needs to realize that they're role models, and if someone's watching, you're influencing somebody.
Exactly, and well, Chris
and gotta watch
Jericho.
out for them.
Chris Jericho's my all-time favorite. I say it on the show to my fans all the time. He's my all-time favorite. He's always been like my number one pro wrestling hero, and I actually had a concert, a Fozzy concert ticket and a meet and greet VIP pass for a show that he was going to do in May 2nd, up here in Cleveland, Ohio, and now I see that show got moved to August 22nd, but I don't even know if this is going to be in control by August. I'm like, WrestleMania got shut down, and now it's interfering with his concert, and I was so upset when these things were happening.
I am going to just have the mindset that July and August are happening. We're going to have fun in the sun, and everything will be back to normal by the end of June.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that too, because believe me, I'm ready. I want the summer to be good and fun.
And another thing is all my my grandkids and my children, my 5 children, all their birthdays are from February 25th to May 26th. So I did have my granddaughter Taya's 3rd birthday, yay, because the 3rd birthday is always the biggie. Like, they actually know that they're getting stuff and that they're special, and, yay, everybody's here for me. So she got to have her little 3rd birthday. But all my other kids, my 5 children and my other grandchildren, I'll probably just waving at them through a window.
Yeah.
So that's not cool, but
that's
a lot of cakes I don't have to bake this year.
Yeah, a few of them, right?
Yeah, but Easter's a big thing too for the family.
Yes.
For us, yeah, we put the little Easter dresses on, and the kids dress up the boys and take them on the Easter egg hunts and dye eggs and chocolate, and we have a big Easter dinner with turkey. And so Browen was sad, and I said, I'm going to make a turkey, and you guys make all your potatoes and your fixings, and my gravy and stuffing, and I'll just deliver that. Just a batch of like turkey and gravy and stuffing, and they can have their own little Easter dinners together.
Oh, that's gonna be nice.
I know. So we're being very creative.
Yeah. See, you're figuring out ways to get the dinners out there and keep everybody together, even in this time.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah, there's good and bad on everything.
And I noticed that when you just said about your granddaughter Taya, and I remember seeing when her birthday was, and actually her birthday's on the same day as mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The 25th of February.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so I did I tell you this already? I'm not. Well, I guess the audience wouldn't know either. But we rented a hotel room, 3 hotel rooms, for Taya and her parents, and then me and my partner, and then my daughter and her children, and then all the Harts came, the cousins and their kids. Mm-hmm. So we had this huge. We had the pool, and it's Deerfoot Inn and Casino in Calgary here, and I said, I felt like I actually went to Vegas, because it's like a little mini, version of a casino life plus family life. Like they have stuff for kids to do there, and it's a wonderful water park. But Taya she just loved it. Like, she really felt like she went somewhere.
Oh, that's nice.
Special, yeah. She had a birthday week. That was just Grandma Billy's present. And her other grandma had a big party for her, too. So
that's awesome. A lot of fun times, and the fact that you're still being positive and, thinking of creative things and still having fun through this pandemic. It's a great
Oh, you
thing
know what
to
I'm going
see.
to do Saturday, Big T?
What?
I saw these beautiful rhinestone earrings I bought. Not for, well, actually I did. I thought I was going to the Hall of Fame. But I found these beautiful rhinestone earrings, and I was like, oh, and I got the perfect dress, and I got this giant leopard coat. And so the way I was raised is very poor, and we had to wear the same clothes every day to school, like the same set of clothes. They were our school clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so can you imagine how the kids teased me, and they said I stink, and I didn't stink because I wouldn't get dirty. I was like, I wouldn't even play. I'd be like, I got to keep my school clothes clean.
Oh, okay.
I just had this evil stepmother. But anyway, it made me really love dressing up as well. That, you know, so that's the point of that story. It's I so love to dress up, and I'm missing it. I was like, I can't dress up. I can't dress up and go to a restaurant or dress up and celebrate with my family. So I said, we're going to have a party on Saturday. We're all going to dress up, and then we're going to Zoom. We're going to have a party together in our houses, but be connected in Zoom.
Oh, that's
Play a
nice.
game. All dressed up.
That's nice. See, you gotta have that creativity. That's what's gonna help you get through this this whole pandemic.
Yeah. And we'll play Pictionary.
Yeah, you know, I just right now what I've been doing with my free time, I've been doing, well, the podcast, of course. I'm still at it, you know, all these episodes and still going and watching a bunch of wrestling, and then on my downtime just spending time with mom and dad here at home, you know.
Yeah. Have you been watching any old matches?
I've been watching old matches, yes, going through like
Doesn't WWE like give some free viewing?
They've been giving the fans some free viewing on the network. Yes, actually, I've had a subscription to it, you know, since they came out with it. But for the fans that don't have it, yes, they've been giving away some free viewing in their library. Their classic library is unbelievable with what they have, and just getting to catch up on these old matches. Actually, one match that I watched recently was Bret Hart and the Patriot from Ground Zero. I was watching that the other day because I was thinking about the time I interviewed the Patriot. I interviewed him back in, it was 2016, I believe, when I interviewed him, and we talked about that match and, you know, the feud with Bret. And for some reason, that thought just randomly went through my head the other day, and I was watching that match, you know, on Ground Zero, having fun with it. It was really good.
I've been watching, for some reason, there's some Portland, Oregon matches came up. I don't know if you've ever watched Tom with the Clan, Rip Oliver, who passed away. God bless his soul.
Oh, I did hear about Rip, yes.
Yeah, so those old matches are really good, and I reconnected with the Assassin. He's part of the Clan, and he has this really awesome picture of the three of them, and I was like, oh, I wish I had that picture, so he's going to mail it to me.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that sweet of him?
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, honestly, wrestling is what's getting me through this pandemic, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's what's getting me through it. I'm just having fun with that and, you know, keeping up and, you know, doing shows like this. Like, this is a tremendous, you know, honor, and just always great to come on here and talk. And I'm so glad that everybody came out tonight, you know, to show their support, because I always, you know, when I always promote our stuff, you know, because I always promote our interviews, like I'll say, check out all 4 interviews that we did and this and that. I'll always plug our stuff and get it around, and, you know,
Awesome.
you've become a friend of the show here. You know, we really love having you.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. I just love coming on.
Yeah, you know, we always find great topics. Sometimes you can. One thing I learned about podcasting, sometimes you talk to people, and everybody I talk to has been great. But, some people that you talk to, you kind of know when they're a one-time guest, or, when they pretty much said everything that they needed to say and they want to leave it at that. And then, here and there, you get the people that, you can have on multiple times and constantly, talk about great stories with. Like my friend Bill, the photographer, that's actually, how it started. He came on here for an interview and we did that. And then the interesting thing is he enjoyed it so much that he actually called me the next day. And he was driving home. I forgot what show he was doing, but he was driving home, and we ended up talking about wrestling for like 6 hours on the phone. And from that point, we've been friends ever since for the last 3 years. And it was about 6 months after our first initial interview, he wanted to come back on the show. And then when we were back on the show, he actually caught me off guard. Like, I was shocked, like in the middle of this second interview, because he's like, well, first off, if anybody knows Mr. Bill Otten, he doesn't particularly like to do interviews. He doesn't, it's not really his thing. And that's why I was so shocked when he goes to me. He's like, I really like what you're doing here, and I feel you have something good. He's like, you have great fans. He's like, even if you have a small audience, you have a great audience that's always very respectful. And he says, I like what you do. And he's like, how about, we start our own podcast together and I'll come on, and be a regular. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome, because I would always watch Bill, on television doing the ringside photos on the WWE shows. I'd always see him running around with his camera, taking photos, and I never knew his name, but when I saw his photo on Facebook, that's when I sent him a friend request, and I figured, I'll ask him and see if he wants to come on the show, and here, now we're friends, and he became a regular. And then, it's just like with you when you come on the show, we always find great stories to talk about, and it seems like the fans, at least my little community that I have here, they love it. They love the stories. And I just think it's a great thing that we're doing here. It's awesome, especially in times like this. Yeah,
and my friend is listening. He's driving across Canada. He's Scott LeCroux. He's a wrestler. Met him in 2007, and my partner and I just say he's our adopted son. And it's so sad that we had this whole month planned for him, because he was going to have his final show at Heart Legacy Wrestling, and we're going to call it like Scotty's Going Away Show, and all his friends and family are going to come from the people that have adopted him, because everybody wants to adopt him. But we're all going to his show. I was working the show, but everything got canceled. COVID happened, and we also had a tour planned. Like I was gonna take him all over Calgary. We're gonna go to Stu's house and Davey's old house and me and Tom's old house, and go to the first house that Brett and Julie ever lived in Ramsey, which just had a dirt basement, and just go everywhere. Go see Uncle Wayne Hart, and just go and be. And here's where Tom used to drink. He used to love, and Jim Neidhart. This is Schooners, and all of that got canceled. So what did we do? And we can't even. We're not allowed to see each other. Like we're not allowed to be within 6 feet of each other. So we all pulled up to Stu's and like a caravan of us, and we stayed 6 feet apart, and we took pictures in front of Stu's house and by the Hart House plate.
Oh,
and
that's
we all
nice.
Said goodbye, and he got in his van, and he's almost to New Brunswick, but it takes about 4 days to drive there from Calgary.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Yeah, and he's listening.
Oh,
Hi,
welcome,
Scotty.
Scott.
Hey, Scotty.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have him here listening. Thank you, Scott, for listening in with us.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It really is. And oh, I remember
But like
one.
wrestling, that was the point. Is wrestling brings us together. It's sad when we have to say goodbye because wrestling's such a close knit family.
Yes.
Fans and wrestlers, like everybody involved in the show, from the ticket seller to the usher to we're all in that show together, and the audience is just as important. But then to say goodbye, and how many times I've done that, said goodbye.
Oh,
Uh,
it's probably been a lot.
Christian, Edge, Test, like I had a sort of Brett called it a hostel. But when the boys were training with Leo Burke in Brett's house, because he had a wrestling ring set up in his pool room, the boys could stay in my basement. I charged them $10 a night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, I hope that's not too much, boys." And they're like, "No, that's great."
Oh,
But
they
eventually, you fall in love with them, like they're your family, and then you got to say goodbye, and you never know when you're going to see them again. And that's how I felt about Scotty leaving me.
yeah.
But I know we'll try and all get back together, but this crazy world. But man, did we make a lot of memories.
And that's good, that you have them. It's good that you have those memories.
Yeah.
I know what I wanted to ask you, and I think the last time we talked, this is actually one thing that I forgot to ask you. I remember, I believe it was about a year ago now. I don't think it's further than that. Maybe a little less than a year. I forgot what it was called. I'm drawing a blank. I forgot what it was called. When I saw a photo of you with a bunch of other people. I think it was I don't know if it was the Hart family. I think it might have been, and you guys were at the premiere of Bret Hart's. It was some kind of documentary for Bret Hart, I
That's
believe.
right. It was 300 something. It was a
Yes.
documentary. It was a wrestling documentary.
Oh wow! I haven't seen it yet. I would love to check that out.
Yeah, it was really good. It just some of it was inappropriate for my great niece to be listening to.
Oh, okay.
Because I think Brett had done it 5 years. He said it was like 5 years before that he did the interview, and the movie took, I don't know, I guess that long to finish. And I don't think Brett would have said those things 5 years later. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I don't know. He was just saying stuff like, "Yeah, the Coke was great, and the women, and the yada yada." I was like, "Oh my God!" Like his granddaughter's right here, but she wasn't listening. She was on her phone. Thank God.
Oh,
She was on
thank God.
her. She wasn't listening. I was like, I think he said something like, "The boys all have to drink and do drugs to survive the road, and like the Coke was great or something." So I think he just kind of ran it all into. It just sounded like he was promoting people doing cocaine to survive.
Mm. Well, I remember what the interesting thing is. I remember when you just said how what Brett said, like the wrestlers were pretty much had to do cocaine to go out and do their thing or whatever. And I remember the Patriot saying something similar. Like how when he started having problems, going out there and getting himself, energized enough because he was hurting and in pain. And then he told the story of how Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, um, he ended up giving the Patriot, some of these pain pills, and then the Patriot took them, and then, he he got all energized, he felt better, he wasn't in pain, and then he went out to the ring and he was able to do his thing, and then
Yeah.
that's when the whole thing started with that, and then he just needed more of it and more of it, and, it kept going, and he said he got to a point, I believe it was a very high number, and I was even shocked that he was still alive. He said he got up to a point where he was taking, I believe it was 125 to 150 pain pills a day. And I was like...
Yeah, they build a tolerance to them.
Yeah.
Like, I swear, those fanny packs, when you see wrestlers from the 80s and 90s with those fanny packs on, most of them, they have their passport and their whole life in them, but we didn't have cell phones in those days to put in there. Those things were full of pills.
Yeah.
They were like little mini drugstores in there. But it was, I know they were in... I'm just saying, I'm not judging what Brett said. I was just thinking, it should have been restricted. Like the age of who was listening.
Yeah.
But she wasn't even paying attention anyway, but...
Well, it's like, I actually ended up getting one of those fanny packs because that's another funny story, it was back in October, when Bill took me out on the road, and we went up to, or August, actually, it was August, we went to Detroit and Pittsburgh. And he saw me carrying all of my, stuff. I have, like, my cell phone and then my big power station, to keep my phone charged, while I'm taking pictures and all that. And then my camera and my wallet and all this and that. And he saw me stuffing it into all my pants pockets and, the pockets in my jacket. And it's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Bill, I do this every time I go to a show. This is just what I do. I gotta take all my stuff with me. He's like,
yeah,
get a fanny pack. And I'm like, I never thought of it. Then we actually went shopping and ended up at an American Eagle store. And we found a fanny pack, and then here's Bill in the store, trying it on me. And then he's like, now here, put all your stuff in there. Then I put it in, and then he's zipping it up, and he's like, there, it works. It's good. Buy it.
Hey, I have two fanny packs. So I got one, glitzy one. It's like a black rhinestone. That's my evening bag. And then I got the canvas one for every day.
And you know what? They're so convenient. They really are convenient.
Well, yeah, and then your hands are free.
Yeah.
My kids are like, oh, I bet you're glad they came back in style. I go, they never left. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They never went out of style, kids.
Yeah, they were always there, and it's like, everywhere Bill goes when he did the wrestling shows, he had his on, and, we'd be in the back, walking through the backstage, to go through to get to where the camera people are and the photographers, but as you're walking through backstage, like, you'd see Michael Hayes walking around with his fanny pack on, and...
Oh.
Yeah, it's, I'm so glad that he, convinced me to get one of those, because now it's like when I go out, it really helps me. I don't have everything jammed into my pockets all the time. So that's pretty fun. But as far as WrestleMania, Michelle, I know we're on the eve. Well, actually, wait, not the eve. 2 days. 2 days before WrestleMania 36. Are you excited to see what they're going to do here?
Yeah, I am. I can't lie. I was looking forward to, being with my daughter and watching it, live, like last year at this time.
Yeah.
I was in Brooklyn. Living the life. Central Park and...
There's nothing like it live. Nothing, live
I got to pass Shane McMahon in the hallway and say I really enjoyed his match.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Raw, because I went to Raw the next day in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, see, I only went to the WrestleMania. I wanted to go to Raw and the other events, but it turned out last year I was only able to make it to WrestleMania. So we drove up there. Um, I believe it was the night of, or no, it was the night of Takeover, I think. And then we got up there, and then went to WrestleMania, stayed there one night, and then went home. But it was such an incredible experience, to be there. I That was like my seventh one, and it was just great. And oh, I'm looking here right now. Wrestling Forever '93 says, "Hello, I am a big Natalya fan. We have a big fan of Natty in the house, Michelle."
Yay!
So we
Can't go wrong there.
yeah, well, like I say, Natalya, she is really a world class worker. She is. She's amazing at what she does, and just
And she's an absolute angel. That girl is she's just so precious. She's a saint.
She seems like one of the nicest, kindest people you could ever want to meet, and
Yeah.
the stories I heard about her from you, and even from Bill, because Bill would go to the shows with, he would always drive, he didn't like to fly, so he would drive.
Yeah.
And he'd always have his cat with him.
Fellow cat lover.
Yeah, his name is Fred, and then, whenever Natalya would bump into Bill, she'd be like, "Oh, hey, how's Fred?"
She would know. Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah, she remembered, when Bill told her about Fred, and she remembered that, and she's like, "Oh, hey, how's Fred?" And sometimes Bill, would have to just go right to the show with Fred, and he couldn't drop him off at the hotel, so sometimes he'd have to leave him in the car, and depending on the weather, he'd have to leave the heat on or air conditioning, if it was warm or whatever. And, Natalya would ask him, he said sometimes, is Fred in the car? Did you just come straight here? Did you stop at the hotel? And it was always, "Oh, I stopped at the hotel," because she always wanted to see Bill's cat.
Aw.
Wrestling Forever '93 says what made him a really big Natalya fan, it was her performance at TLC 2010 with the double sharpshooter.
Oh, yeah.
That was an amazing moment.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wish she can do that.
The only thing I honestly
And
wish...
the thing about Natty, too, is she's trained old school, and she still has that, it's sort of ingrained in you, the way you were trained to be humble, and to always be helpful to others, and that's the way she is.
Yeah. She's an incredible person. I respect what she does in that ring so much. Really, I think she actually paved the way for the women's revolution of today, to be honest with you.
Because you're only as good as the worker putting you over.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like Tom was like that. He was so good at making the other person, like putting the other person over. Like it's not just like, yeah, I let him beat me up. It's just like, no, I made that believable. I made you look like a dangerous, superstar.
Yeah.
And she has that ability too. Like she puts so many of those women, making those women credible. Like, ooh, you beat Natty, you must be tough.
Yeah, it made.
And that's a part of the wrestling I'm talking about. Like this, this making wrestling believable. It's an art form.
It is.
And I think it's getting lost with all the gazillion high spots and the diving off the towers into a big foamy mat and that kind of stuff. It's like desensitizing, minimizing, the story.
I agree. There's got to be less of that. Save that for maybe when you want a big pop or something like that from the crowd, but don't do it all the time.
Because they won't pop. If you keep giving them fireworks, after a while it's like, it's a firework.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they've seen
So it's
it
like,
so many times.
it's got to be handed out, like, there's got to be a build-up of it, just like good story writing. But that's just me, and I'm old school. But, when you're saying you're looking at those classic matches, just watch, and you could probably count on your two hands how many high spots there's going to be. Can you do that now? Nope.
Nope, not at all.
You got 50 high spots. It's like, is any of them worth remembering? Probably not, because there were so many of them. You can't remember them all.
Yeah, you can't pick them all out either, and when you see that over and over again, you're absolutely right. It's like, all right, I've seen this.
Oh, I did a triple flip off the apron. Like, big deal. It's like, so it's that's the way I think maybe wrestling will have a nice clean slate again.
Mm-hmm.
When it, not that it's going to be gone forever, but we were talking about how this pandemic can change things. It's like, yes, it can change culture, it can change wrestling even. And you know what? You always have to go back to the foundations.
That's right.
Even with teaching, like we're doing some really progressive things. Some of it's good, but some of it's like, we need the old school way too. Because there's some good stuff. Don't throw out everything.
I think the old school ways, honestly, are the best. I really do.
Well, next time you watch a classic match, and you know that that's somebody that can tell a story in the ring,
mm-hmm.
like, just start counting the high spots. Or just see how they work the crowd.
You know what? I'm going to do that.
They don't tend to do that anymore.
They really don't. They go out there and do their thing.
Yeah.
That's what they do now.
It's like John Kerry. John Kerry is famous for overacting.
Yeah.
There's also over wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's called too many high spots, too many those spinny kicks.
I'm looking here. We got more comments coming in, Michelle. Actually, there's 3 of them. Let me go through here real quick. Wrestling Forever 93 says, Michelle, it is great listening to someone who is close to the Hart family. They go on to say, I would have hoped that Natalya would have been a multiple-time champion and represented the division. It makes me upset that it didn't happen. And they go on to say, Michelle, did the Dynamite Kid feel honored to participate at WrestleMania?
Yes, and especially the one with Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh yeah.
And Ozzy, yeah. I mean, I think you and I talked about this before, but Ozzy actually phoned up Vince and asked him, or told him he wanted to manage the Bulldogs. And Tom had no idea who Ozzy was, and I had to play him his records, but he was really excited. And like Tom, you got to understand, didn't get excited about anything, except George Foreman, and then this with Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne, when you say Ozzy Osbourne, I know that's Mama T's favorite. So
yeah,
she's gonna.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's gonna love to hear about that.
Well, Tom took a backdrop off the corner post, and I don't even think it was caught on camera. You can kind of see him, fall. Like nowadays, they probably would have had it at every angle, but, when at the end, when Davey gets in there and gets the belts, like Tom's on the apron, hurt, supposedly. Oh. Well, I'm sure he was hurt, but he was selling on the apron.
Wow. Yeah, see, now, whenever something happens, there's cameras from, like you said, every angle possible, and they pick up everything.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they had, like maybe 2 cameramen kind of going around the whole ring area?
I don't know. Like, I probably have to. I never watched it as thinking about how many cameras they have, but
It's amazing how it's changed over the
hmm
years. It really is, and just
and we didn't have people with their cell phones filming at on the ringside because you can get some great footage with the fans.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like when Brett got attacked there, that was the first time I saw it. Was the fans had filmed it.
That was just I was nervous. I could only imagine how you feel because me sitting at home, I was.
Well, we thought, like when they called me, I thought he got stabbed. I was babysitting my nephew's little girl, so Julie had the they brought Julie and I so that we could babysit the kids while they go to the Hall of Fame. Not that Julie would want to go anyway. With her ex.
I have
For those of you that know, my sister was married to Bret Hart, but he was so fabulous on that trip.
it was just so great to see him up there, with Natty. And actually, the thing is, I remember Bill telling me a story, him and Natty talked, actually, in catering after this incident happened. It was like a week or 2 weeks after, and Natty was telling Bill about what happened, and Bill's like, yeah, he's like, I was down there taking pictures, and he's like, I noticed that his ponytail was messed up, and then he was he was showing Natty the photos, on his camera because it's on the memory card, and he was showing her the photos on the camera, and she's like, oh my god, I didn't even notice that his ponytail was messed up. I should have fixed it for him.
Aren't they hilarious? Like, oh, the show must go on.
Yeah, they just go with it.
The show must go on. But I understand that. Like, I was like, oh. Because Brett's kids were just, like, all stuck in the audience, like Blade and Dallas. His sons are like, trying to get out. And Harry was on the edge, and he, like, we already talked about this, but he got a few shots in there.
Yeah, I heard that Harry was the one that got some shots, and I think...
Yeah. And somebody's husband. Was that Becky's husband or boyfriend?
Oh, yeah, Seth Rollins did, and then I think one of the guys, if not both of the guys from the Revival, Dash and Dawson, also got shots in.
That's right, because Brett was giving them a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The Raw backstage at catering. Because of what they did.
I'm looking here. I see, wait a minute. I'm looking here. Also, Wrestling Forever 93 says also he took a headbutt finish at WrestleMania 2. Famous saying by Ozzy, British Bulldogs forever.
Yeah. Oh, and that picture of Ozzy Ozzy's holding the belt up because Tom's laying on the concrete selling his fall off the apron. And that's old school too. It's like, you don't get up and act like nothing happened. You sell that stuff.
Exactly.
That picture was in Playboy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have that Playboy issue actually. It was the middle page where it was like a whole spread.
Wow.
Oh, I shouldn't use that word and Playboy in the same sentence. Okay, sorry kids. You should be in bed anyway.
Yeah,
no. You know how when it has like the 2 pages and the picture goes across both pages?
Exactly.
Well, no, I'm stuck. Okay, help. Help. You know what I mean. Anyway, I have that picture, but that was the biggest, that was the Pontiac, Michigan, I believe.
Oh, Pontiac
There was 163,000 people at that show.
That was one amazing spectacle over there.
Like, so the numbers could be off, people, and I'm getting old, but it was a record-breaking attendance. 93
1,000 and some hundred. I don't know the hundreds.
Are you looking it
Exact.
up?
I'm actually remembering offhand, believe it or not.
Then how come I'm saying 163? Where did I get that number?
I think it was.
Maybe it was 63,000.
I know there was 160 some thousand people. I think it was. I don't know if it was Collision in Korea for WCW or something at that real big stadium, because I know they got a real big stadium that holds like 150 or 60,000 people. That might have been it. Pontiac, I think Pontiac was 93. Hold on, let me look this up.
No, I got you worried about it.
I am going to look this up here. I got to see the number.
I'm an English major. Numbers don't stick in my head, but I know it was a big number. But anyway, that picture is just incredible because it has all the audience and Ozzy holding up the belt.
WrestleMania 3 attendance, let's see, 93,173.
93,000. So I was way off.
And then actually, I was at the WrestleMania in Dallas, which the only reason why I remember this is because they said it broke the record, and the WrestleMania in Dallas when they went to the Cowboys Stadium had 101,763.
Yeah.
But I mean, being around a crowd that big,
it's infectious.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, you get such a rush and such, an adrenaline, and it's amazing.
So we might have to wait now.
Yeah, but we're going to have to wait before the next big crowd comes in. And Wrestling Forever 93 says, and I know you've heard of this, Michelle, because we talked about this, but he's asking, he's like, did you hear anything about the Hart Family Dungeon? And I know you know a lot about the Hart Family Dungeon.
Yes, I do. What does he want to know? Like, Tom would take people down there and wrestle around, and we had this big bull mastiff dog named Duke, and he was named after Duke Myers, who has a big head. My dog had a big head. And my dog would he busted the window. Stu actually, he got banned from Stu's. Nobody's ever banned from Stu's. Everybody gets to go to Stu's, but our dog got banned because he would see the boys wrestling and he would think it's real, and the dog would try and attack people because they thought they were hurting Tom. It was the other way around, but the dog didn't know that. But yeah, the dungeon. They would wrestle around on the mat, and I was like, you guys didn't see the litter of puppies that were living on there for like a few months.
And he's also asking, how popular was Stampede Wrestling in Canada?
Well, it was so popular that when I was a little girl, I remember watching it, like with my dad. We lived in a small town, Shaunavon, Saskatchewan, and everybody Saturday at 4 o'clock would watch wrestling, Stampede Wrestling. And they never came through to our town, but if they came through, by Swift Current or Medicine Hat, then my dad would go to the matches. But when we moved back to Regina, Stampede Wrestling came every Tuesday. That's a 7-hour drive. Like, Tom would drive from here to Regina for 7 hours, wrestle, wait till the wrestling's over, take the ring down, and then drive back. So they got home about 6 in the morning. Can you imagine doing that every week? And blizzards, rain, hail, snow, sleet, rain, everything.
Oh, I couldn't imagine
doing that every Tuesday. But anyway, why did they do it? Because fans like me and my dad were at the matches. So I didn't go to the matches until about grade 6 or something. My brother didn't want to go, and I was always jumping at a chance to be my dad's son, hang out with Dad. So I went to the wrestling, and he said, like, can you get me an autograph? And there was so many people lined up to get this person's autograph. I think it was Keith Hart. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to this other person. So I went to the bad guy, but I didn't know there was a bad guy and a good guy. I go, here, Dad, I got you the autograph. And he goes, yeah, but that's the bad guy. Abdullah the Butcher or somebody. But, my grandma was there, like my mom's mom. She was in the front row with my auntie. Like, it was, everybody went to wrestling.
Oh, wrestling back in the day, too, especially. Like now, even though the business is doing great, you can get tickets pretty easily, for the shows. Like, I don't know if they've made it more accessible over the years to get tickets, but I remember when I first, started wanting to go live in the 90s, and every time they would come to my town, they'd be sold out in under a minute, and I never could go until, 2003. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you go offer to be a security guard or something. That's what... I love the indie shows. I'm just a huge fan of indie wrestling.
You know what? I became a big fan of the indie wrestling probably about, I would say anywhere between 12 to 14 years ago is when I got into the indie scene and, started looking at the big indie company in Cleveland, Ohio, and that's when actually I'm sure you probably know him. Are you pretty familiar with NXT?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, in NXT, there's
you mean the WWE's lower division?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, I do.
In NXT, Johnny Gargano, who's in NXT, he was actually the lead wrestler in my, indie promotion in Cleveland called AIW, Absolute Intense Wrestling, and I would watch Johnny wrestle, for years and years, in the indies, and I always said to anybody that would listen to me, like I used to get in debates with people, and even when I first started my podcast, when Johnny was still in the indies here in Cleveland, I'm like, Johnny Gargano, if he would get a chance, he'll be one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling. And he ended up going into NXT, and he's just done so many amazing things over there. And just to know that he came from Cleveland and I watched him for all those years, it was just amazing.
Yeah. And that's it, right? They need the indie exposure to get polished, to, learn the ropes and be ready.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like, do you guys have WHL, like hockey? Like, I don't know what you would call it. We call it AAA.
Oh, like
hockey.
Yeah, like not the NHL, but
yeah, just one step down.
The one step down. Yeah, we have a team named the Lake Erie Monsters up here.
Okay, we have the Hitmen.
Okay.
The Hitmen, and yes, Brett is part of that. Anyway, sometimes I like watching those hockey games more than the NHL hockey games.
Yes.
For the same reason, it's more intense. You're closer to the ice. The fans are more into it.
You know what it is? The younger kids, that are playing and, competing in these leagues, they want to get up to the big time, so they're hungry and they give even more.
They're intense, they're passionate. And then sometimes the higher levels, it's so polished, and it's like you miss the rawness of the indies.
Exactly. Sometimes you want something a little less polished, You want you want
I
that.
appreciate the mistakes.
Yeah, sometimes you want that small
Yeah,
arena. Sometimes you want that little bit of a grungy look and feel to it.
that's right. Yeah, you're making me miss it.
I know I'm starting to miss it too, just talking about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
–
And I have friends that just opened a wrestling school, and I'm just worried about them. And you can't even. I don't know how it is with you guys, but you, right now here in Calgary, you can only be with your family that you live with in your house,
okay. Like,
right? And if you don't have anyone in your house, then you're by yourself, or you might be with a family of 10 or 3, or I
yeah,
guess unless you're wrestlers living together,
like
which can happen.
over here right now, I believe people are still going around, to where they can visit each other and stuff like that, but I feel they
Oh,
need to.
really?
Yeah, but
Oh, we can't visit. I can't visit my kids.
see, I feel
I
like,
could, but I'm just being responsible. They've asked us to stay home
yeah,
and to self-isolate, and that means being only with your family that you live with, or
and,
the people that you live with.
and see, I feel like that's one of our problems up here because, with people still going around for visits and stuff like that, and I understand,
Well, like when someone has a cold, it's
mm-hmm,
just that's how it is. It's like, you know, you're apt to sneeze, and they're saying it could like stay in the air for 3 hours. Like, I don't know. It's like just stay home, and you probably won't catch it.
well, what's really alarming, I don't know if this has happened in, up by you guys in Canada. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read the first few comments, and then I'll continue with what I was gonna say. Wrestling Forever 93 put, I think Dynamite Kid was one of the best high flyers in the industry. I bet his style was considered unusual to the technical style of the
Yeah,
Hearts. And he goes on to say, Calgary Hitmen, Bret Hart used to wear their jerseys on Raw and Nitro.
yeah. They asked Brett to be like if they could use his name and if he wanted to be a part owner. So yeah, that's his team. Like he's affiliated. It's not like he's getting a paycheck or anything.
Okay.
But he loves the Hitman, and they love him, and yeah, he has season tickets.
I was gonna say something. Oh God, I forgot. Now I'm gonna kick myself. I was gonna say something about. Oh, what's alarming over here with the coronavirus
Right.
pandemic up here is that people that are even working in the grocery stores up here. Like we have a couple grocery stores. One is named Giant Eagle. The other one is named Heinen's, and in a couple cities close by, to where I live, employees at those stores tested positive for coronavirus, and it was from them handling the packages, the food boxes and packages that came in, just the boxes on the outside, I guess, where they shipped from, those boxes on the outside were contaminated.
Yeah, and that's why when I go shopping, I clean all the stuff with
Yeah.
bleach. I throw the bags out and I clean it. They're saying soap and water is the best thing for your hands. Like if I don't have my hand sanitizer, I have Lysol wipes. I've even used Lysol wipes on my hands, and my hands are getting so raw. But yeah, it's just we're just all doing what we can.
That was like when I was sitting, it was a nice day today, so, I kind of, I went out with my mom, to one of the parks up here, and we were just sitting out trying to get some fresh air to get out for a little bit, and, she looked at my hands and she's like, look at how white your hands are, they're just completely wearing out. I'm like, oh, I'm washing them like crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm just noticing, like, do you ever notice how many times you touch your face? Like, all of a sudden now I'm noticing. I was like, oh,
I started
I guess
noticing
you got
that
to
too.
break the habit.
Yeah, like whether or not, you kind of scratch in your eye a little bit, or, say if you're just even running your finger through your hair a little bit, you kind of make contact with your cheek, when you're fixing your hair, and it's like, damn it, I'm touching my face.
Yeah. Like, so I think we're all going to get, like, super good at washing our hands, and so that's another positive.
I think so too, like I know at least for myself, I'm always washing my hands now. It's like I don't take a chance at all. Even my phone,
Well, they're
I
saying that's the worst thing. Like, because we carry that phone everywhere, and, when I'm paying a bill or something, put your phone down. It's like, no, I started leaving my phone in my car.
yeah.
Leave my phone in my car because I know I'm going to put it down and start touching it after I've touched other things. And
Yeah, like
yeah,
I've been even cleaning my phone, every time I come home when I'm out somewhere, and I keep it clipped on my pants, and I try not to touch it. I just try to leave it there.
yeah,
But it really makes you think now, and it really makes you be more aware of what you're doing, and it's not so free and easy as it was before this happened.
no.
I'm looking here. Wrestling Forever 93's
Hey,
asking.
do you remember when I said it seems like uh, we're really like in a Hellenistic type of era where everything's overdone and like we're all flying to New York and we're getting our granddaughter. I got my granddaughter hotel rooms and like we're just you know everything is just so fast and more. And I said it's all going to like what happened to Rome,
Yeah,
and maybe that's it. It's like Rome is falling.
it could be. It really could be. And yeah, I remember. I remember when you said that, and it's I don't know. It's like when I wake up. When I wake up, I've had this terrible habit. First thing I do when I wake up, I sit down, I turn on the TV, and I go on YouTube because I can get YouTube on my TV. So I put YouTube on, and I go to the Royal Lab Stats YouTube channel because they're the ones with the live coronavirus count. And I look and see what the count is, in all the countries. First thing when I wake up, I have this habit of doing that now.
But you realize all those numbers are not accurate.
See, that's what I don't know. Did you hear anything about it? Like, are those accurate or are those not?
Well,
Because
it's just those are numbers that people actually tested for. So for every positive test, you have to think there's 9 other positives. So those numbers you're looking at are lower than what they should be because not everyone is tested, and there's asymptomatic people that are transmitting it.
okay, so basically the counts for everybody should be higher than what is shown.
That's right. And then some countries aren't probably revealing the true count, like Russia and, you know.
Yeah, North Korea isn't even revealing a count at all. At least
At all.
from at least
Because
from
they
when I
have
looked.
none, like as if. But there's also, like our count started going down and people were saying, oh, there's not as much today. And it's like, well, did you listen? They said they're running out of tests. So it's
Yeah,
like if you're not doing as many tests and you're trying to space out these tests, obviously you're going to have less people because you tested less people.
exactly.
So numbers or something, like I said, they don't always mean what you think they mean.
Yeah.
So the point is there is way more.
Yeah, and, well, that's just like I remember Fumi Saito when I was talking to him on my podcast. We about a week and a half ago, and he was telling me the cases in Japan are suspiciously low, and that's all he kept telling me. And he said they got to be way higher than what they are.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that the numbers are probably way higher than what they are everywhere, and I gotta say you're probably right, because who knows who else is out there. We have no idea. And the new thing, what they've been saying today, is that people that don't even have symptoms, like the people that carry it, it might never come out on them ever, but they can pass it along to so many other people. So there's always like something new with this. Something's always
Yeah, I think
changing.
eventually we'll all have to get it or not.
Yeah.
You know, like the herd, those of us that all get it and survive, that we can protect the old, the fragile ones, but by keeping them isolated and getting rid of it, and that's by staying home.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Or the people that have had it can go out. Like we'll get some kind of if they could invent a test that could just tell us if we had it, and then okay, I've had it, so I'm in the school, and then like the kids that have had it can come to school. It's like it'd help out if we had a test that was quick, because they're saying they have a test now that can tell you in 15 minutes, a home test. But Canada doesn't want to. Well, they said they don't want it because it's only came out, and it has to be tested because we're so safe up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I want one of those tests. Like I want to be able to see if I had it already, and like I'm freaking out over nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
And the interesting thing is too, like how you were talking about how there's going to be different mutations of it, and I've already even heard, like how when this first came out and everybody was buying up all the toilet paper, and people were making fun of those people because they're like, I don't understand why people are buying all this toilet paper. Coronavirus doesn't even cause diarrhea. Well, now, some doctors have came out and said that they've seen cases where coronavirus causes diarrhea and vomiting. So it's kind of changing.
Yeah, it is changing.
And
Because it doesn't want to kill us. The virus wants to thrive in us.
yeah,
Like that's its little role in life. So it does want to mutate so that its host, us, doesn't die. So
yeah.
there's a purpose for all of it.
And,
But hopefully something happens so they can stop this insanity. But for sure, we're going to be in the house for 2 months. That's what I'm telling my kids and everybody. That's what I'm hanging on to. Please, just can it only be 2 months? Because I don't know. I don't want to be away from my grandkids that long.
I don't blame you. I'm hoping that
Any longer.
I'm hoping that this will only last a couple of months too. I'm hoping for the best and hoping that things could get back to normal. Oh, and I see another question here.
There won't be a normal. Like, we have to make a new normal when this is over.
Yeah.
And I wish it would go back to the way it was, Did you know I'm First Nations?
What was that?
I don't know if you guys...
What was that, Michelle?
That my ancestry, I'm First Nations on my mother's side.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for 10,000 years we lived here and you couldn't even tell.
Oh, wow.
Like we just lived as one with the land.
Wow.
Like we didn't have diseases like this, and it was, I was like, maybe we need to go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It would be nice if we could go back to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Because these are just, especially this one, this disease is just terrible. I've never seen anything just stop the world, not just my country or your country. It's actually stopping the world.
Yeah.
It's
Stopping the world. Wow.
It's like
okay, well, I think I've talked your ear off enough here. How many hours have we been on here?
It's funny. We pulled off another 2.5 hour marathon.
Okay, everybody wake up.
But I do see one more question here in the
okay,
chat.
one more question.
Wrestling Forever 93 is asking, Michelle, was the Dynamite Kid aware that he busted McFoley's mouth? I don't.
Probably.
I was gonna.
Probably.
I was gonna say I didn't know
he
what
did
meant.
things on purpose. So he was such a. He had such excellent timing in the ring that if anybody got hurt with him, it was on purpose.
I got you.
Let's just say it that way.
And Mama T's in here, and she just said, today was a first for me to color my hair, and it turned out fine. Never thought I'd ever do this. Felt abnormal, but result is fabulous because Mama T's used to going to the hair salon to get her hair done, but even with the hair salons closed, she can't do that. And
yeah, my kid Rowan ran out and got her hair done and her nails and her eyelashes, and I go, what for? You're going to be in the house for 2 months. And she goes, I'm not coming out looking like those memes that they got on the Facebook, where they just got out of quarantine and the girls are all like, their hair, their roots are all, and their nail beds are all gross and broken fake nails.
Well, see, like I was telling my mom, to be honest, throughout this whole thing, I'm like, of course, I'm going to keep myself clean, and upkeep on myself. But as far as my hair, if it's got to grow for now, it's got to grow. I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do, I mean, at this point, and it's weird. It's very weird,
Isn't it?
to live this way. But, hey, we just got to make the best of it. I've been trying to do my best. You've come up with a bunch of creative ways on things to do, and let's see.
I'm making videos too, so like I'm recording my favorite books, and then the kids play it. So I did one, Pig the Pug. I just love it. So I'll send you the link so you can watch it.
Yes, please send it to me. I would love to see it.
Okay. And my fans, if you guys want to watch Pig the Pug, I'll send it to Big T.
Okay.
You can post it.
Yeah, perfect. I'll put it up, once I get the link, I could put it up on my Facebook page and on my Twitter, and if anybody wants to see it, they could go and check it out there. And Mama T saying beauty salons are closed. Exactly, yes, they are. And Wrestling Forever 93 says it was great listening to both of you. Thank you, Michelle, for your responses. I'm a great supporter of the Hart family legacy, and I hope it lasts forever.
Yeah, and I hope Davey's getting inducted. Maybe they did it already, and they'll play it, and we'll all be happy. But I am kind of disappointed that Diana and Harry and Georgia aren't going to get the audience part of it, because I know it's so important, especially those of us that have been in the business all these years. That we know it's just as important to the fans as it is to us, and it's always great to share those moments.
Yes.
But I'm still going to be very happy that it's happened, and I hope one day Tom is in there, and that the Bulldogs are in there. So.
Absolutely. I'm hoping for the same. And Mama T says, nice listening. She really enjoyed this podcast. And Michelle, I know you must be doing something, right? Because Mama T doesn't check in all that much on my podcast. So for her to actually...
What color's her hair? What color did she dye it?
She made it a dark brown. That's her color.
Beautiful.
So she dyes it, to her natural hair color, pretty much.
Yeah.
just covering up the grays, you know.
Yeah, I do know.
me, even though they're coming in already, I'm letting it go. And I'm just growing out my hair. But when the beauty salons open up, I'll fix myself up too sometime.
Gray hair looks good too, though. I see like all the young kids that they got the gray hair now. It's a trend.
Yeah, you know what? It's not too bad. It really isn't. It could be pretty good. I'm actually, you know what? I've had more people tell me, believe it or not, that they like the kind of gray that I have in my hair. Like, you can't tell probably on camera, watching me, but if
it's a sprinkle, like a salt and pepper.
Yeah, like if you see me in person, you'll notice it. And I've gotten good responses on it, believe it or not. Even though I'm 32, I'm getting gray early, but I'm just embracing it.
You earned them.
Yeah.
That's what my mom would say. You earned those gray hairs.
Be proud of it. You earned it.
Yeah, be proud of it. It's like scars or anything else. It's like you earned them.
Wear it with
badge of honor.
Yes. And Mama T says, have a good night, Michelle.
Okay, you too, Mama T.
So everybody enjoyed, and Wrestling 93 Forever says goodbye, Michelle, to the best family is, was, and ever will be.
Awesome.
Wow, see, we got a lot of activity tonight. This is great. Thank you, guys. And what an episode 250, Michelle. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this. This is a big episode for me, actually a big benchmark for this podcast. 250 episodes. That's a big deal. That's just the podcasting end of it. That doesn't include, the reviews that I do on all the shows and stuff like that. This is just,
right.
My podcasting end of it. And for 250 episodes, it's a big benchmark, and I'm honored that you accepted the invitation to come back.
Well, I'm always so pleased when you invite me, and I'm glad the fans enjoy it. I don't know, I do tend to ramble on, but I'm open to coming back whenever you guys are ready for me.
Oh, believe me, I know they'll be asking. I know they will be asking again at some point, and I was actually thinking about that. That was going to be my last question to you. I would love to have you back, and I'm even trying to think about this timeline because life is so different right now, and who knows what events we'll see. Like, I know last year we were planning, all right, we'll do it after WrestleMania to talk about that, or we'll do it leading up to SummerSlam and stuff like that, and now we don't know what it's going to be. But I would say if you would like to check back in, and come back on in the summertime, I'd love
to... I think that would be perfect.
I'd love to have you back anywhere between, maybe like June, July, August, any of those months, that you think would work best for you. I'd love to have you back.
July works best for me.
Okay.
I have all of July off.
Oh, that's perfect. So then we'll plan.
And they're even canceling the Calgary Stampede.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they haven't officially canceled it, but come on. It's going to be canceled.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's when, in July?
Yeah, I don't know if you know about it, but it's the greatest outdoor show in North America. It's the big rodeo, the fair, we have like Garth Brooks. We'll have like somebody every night playing at the Saddle Dome.
Oh, wow.
At our arena, like big name like that every night, and I love the Stampede. When people say they want to come to Calgary, we always say, come Stampede, because the whole city is pancake breakfast, and we're all wearing our cowboy hats. Our uniform.
I know one...
And, in the day, that's when Stu used to Stampede Wrestling, like they were in the parade, and he would bring the world champion, Harley Racing, and Andre the Giant and the midgets and the lady wrestlers. Like we didn't see them. They were novelty acts.
Mm-hmm.
So matches, I should say, not acts. But we didn't get to see them unless it was like a big deal, like a Stampede week. So it'd be sold out. But yeah, it's never ever, even at that big flood, it flooded in June, and they cleaned up that whole park and we had Stampede, even after the big flood in 2013. Come hell or high water, it said. That was the T-shirt that year.
Wow.
So it's like, well, come coronavirus, like I'm pretty sure it hasn't been officially canceled. It's kind of like WrestleMania, when you guys thought it was still going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stage it's at right now, but we're pretty sure it's going to be canceled.
Well, and that's like even with sports, in the future, like
right?
Even for football, like football here in America, they're even saying, that could even be postponed for a little while or even canceled if it keeps up. And the mini camps don't start until July, and they're already talking about that. And
yeah. So the human in us, we like things that are normal, the same, do it the same way. But I don't think it will be. I think everything's going to be so different. Like, even if we had a hockey game or a football game, are we going to be allowed to sit that close?
Yeah, exactly. They might move all the people back.
Yeah, well, like, we'd have to have, 2 chairs in between? I don't know. Some empty seats.
It's going to be
But
very
anyway,
different.
thank you so much for bringing me on, and I would love to come after Stampede Week so we can talk about how I didn't go to Stampede. I had to do something else. And my grandkids, their first birthdays, the 2 babies I had in the beginning of July. So I'm hoping that we're thinking maybe that's when we can get our family together and have a big family birthday for all the birthdays we missed, plus the babies.
Oh,
do it all in one day.
That'll be a nice time. I look forward to
hearing about it,
having you back and hearing about it. Yes, I look very forward to it, and I know all the fans here are going to be looking forward to it as well. We had a fantastic turnout tonight, and Michelle, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and would you like to hang on the line while I take us off the air?
Okay. Thanks, Big T.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, Michelle, and to everybody here listening. This has been episode number 250 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T wrestling podcast for tonight, Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. And always remember, guys, I will see you next time. And yes, there will be a next time for me right here on Beyond the Ring with Big T. Don't forget us, and we won't forget you. And if you want the best, and I mean the absolute best for all of your professional wrestling needs, always remember to think Beyond the Ring with Big T. And as always, I'm your host, Big T, and I will see you at the matches. Take care. I love you all, and good night, everybody.
Hello, this is EC3 of TNA Wrestling, and you are so very fortunate because you are watching Beyond the Ring with Big T.
This is the bad boy Joey Janela, and you're watching Beyond the Ring with Big T.